How to produce a song. Today we'll break down the process and show you how small decisions make a big impact. From sound design to arrangement and mixing, we'll take this track from a rough demo to a polished production. Let's go! Today we're going to be working on a track written and recorded by composer Irina. The first step is to listen to the raw material. This is what we recorded at the studio. A digital piano, a double bass, and no processing at all. There's a very strong idea here, but it still needs some love. So let's start shaping the sound. First of all, let's talk about sound design. And the first step for this is to have a realistic piano sound. You might not know this, but I am not actually able to record a grand piano in my studio. But there's a lot that we can do to compensate for this. The best solution that works for me is to actually take the best of each virtual piano that I have and then combine it together into one very realistic piano. For this, I'm going to be using the Arturia V3 for its depth, Arturia V2 for its percussiveness and mechanical sounds, and finally a little bit of East-West Gold Piano's Steinway D patch. Combining all of them together, some gentle compression, EQ, analog emulation, and some stereo imaging in the bus, we get this sound. So let's check now the before and after with the previous piano and with this new sound design we've just made. Okay, now that we have our piano sound, it's time to start with some additional arrangement. Let's start by sketching some harmonies to fill up the space. This section feels a bit empty and it requires some instrumental support to really elevate the track. So what I'm going to do is I will sketch some string pads here and there to hopefully bring the track a little bit forward. See how it glues everything together? It's subtle, but now it feels much more immersive. Great, now that we have our string sketch, we have to develop each instrument separately. Since we already have an audio recording of an actual real upright bass, all we have to do is to record 3 additional string instruments, the cellos, the violas, and the violins. First, the cellos. Secondly, the violas. And finally, the violins. Great, now we have all the musical material that we need and we have to make it blend together. We have a little challenge though, and it is that we're trying to recreate a string quartet or string quintet, but part of the instrumentation is virtual. Luckily, I have a couple of tricks that are going to help us with this. First of all, let's keep in mind that in our case, the only real recorded string instrument has a solo character to it, so it's okay if it stands out. Secondly, let's use some audio engineering magic to bring this all together. First of all, let's pan our instruments to put them in a more realistic environment. This is going to give them space to breathe and it's going to allow us to mix much better. The piano needs to go in the center. For the bass, we are doing a little trick. The SM57 mic goes in the center, but the NT1 goes slightly panned to the left to give some space to the piano and to have some separation in solo parts. The cello goes slightly panned in the opposite direction, and finally a wider panning for violas and violins in opposite directions to fill in the stereo image and to give some nice bass treble balance in the stereo image. Another fundamental step to make this work is to reduce the difference between the real strings and the virtual strings. We need them to be as similar as possible so that they sound as part of the same ensemble. For the specific case of the cello, I feel that it needs a little bit of an extra boost in the low end. So for this I'm going to be using R bass. Check out how it sounds before and after. Secondly, the bass is quite bright, so I feel that we need to reduce the distance, the difference between the recorded bass and the virtual instrument. For this I'm going to be using neutron exciter, which is a very good way to create new harmonics and make these strings much brighter. For the bass, you have to know that we have recorded it with two different microphones and each one of them is giving us something different. The SM57 captured most of the boominess and deep bass, while the NT1 got all the details on the high end of the instrument. I am processing these tracks independently and then joining them together in a stack track to blend it and process it further. I am adding some additional compression and saturation. This is the bass with no processing. And this is the bass with all of the processing. And now this is just the string section altogether. Now we have everything we need, but it's still sounding a little bit too flat to me, a little bit too bland. It doesn't sound realistic, it sounds more like a robot playing an orchestra. So for this we're going to be using some automation curves that will add realism, excitement and much more emotion. I would say this is one of the few exceptions in which you really want to overdo it. In this case, you want to express emotion, and whatever you do, it's never really going to be enough. So it's good to write these very exaggerated curves to make it stop sounding like something robotic, something that's metallic inside of a box, and more like something that has been played by a real musician. We're getting there. For this track we have done a lot so far, and all that is left is to add some ambience with some reverb. Let me show you how. For this I will be using two different reverbs. One is the Valhalla Supermassive with this configuration, and also the often underrated Space Designer. Note that in both cases I am filtering what goes into the reverb to avoid buildup of harsh frequencies and keep the bass clean. Alright, we're almost done. If you made it so far in this video, I want to congratulate you and also to thank you for your attention and for your time. If you like this type of content, please give me a like and subscribe because it goes really a long way in helping me making this video. And now the moment we've all been waiting for, the big reveal before and after. Now you know what goes into producing a piano track with strings. I hope you learned something, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I definitely hope to see you in my next video. In any case, that's all I have for you today. Thanks very much for watching, see you next time.